What you doing there? You guys making a podcast?
Why would you think that's a good idea?
You two are the dumbest people I've ever seen.
That's janky.
Happy Halloween from my kitchen. I've got a Halloween costume party to go to, and since I didn't have any costumes, I'm a guy from the 80s. And as we all know, the 80s was a resurgence of 50s pop culture, so makes this costume completely justified. And it's fine that I didn't buy a costume this year, because 2020 kind of ruined everything. But that's besides the point. We're still celebrating Halloween right here in Iowa by doing fun trick-or-treating 6 feet at a distance and whatnot. And whatever you're doing, I hope you have a great Halloween. But I figured we'd do a little Halloween special since this is the first Halloween the Jank podcast is seeing. And let's be honest, we have no idea how long the Jank podcast would last. It could be done tomorrow. So, might as well just make it happen real fast. So, welcome to the first and possibly only Jank podcast Halloween special. I'm very lucky that I have someone so talented and so knowledgeable about Halloween history, that's literally what his thesis was about, joining me today. Well, it was actually yesterday. I'm recording this later because I just wait till the last second to do everything. Trying to get this video out tomorrow. Who knows? Love it. This is my kitchen. Thank you for noticing. And besides that, let's just get into it. Joining me today is an arch nemesis of mine who really has done nothing to make me mad, but someone tagged him in a video one time saying he should be my arch nemesis, so now we hate each other. I am joined with historical legend, Taylor. Thank you so much for coming, man. So I guess while we get into it, so I do TikTok history videos. You do TikTok history videos. What would you say kind of got you into the history TikTok, the history side of TikTok, I guess?
I mean, history's always been my thing. When I was like a sophomore in high school, somebody wrote in my yearbook, you could teach this world history class. And then I ended up becoming a world history teacher.
Nice.
But it actually started because I would see my students at lunch doing TikTok videos, doing the same dances that everybody does. And I'm like, you're never gonna go anywhere. You have to do something original. Mm-hmm. So my first popular video was actually me making fun of my wife. But it didn't get me like traction. And I kind of got addicted to it after I made a video talking about how the Vikings actually looked like emo kids.
Yeah.
And from there, I just started getting more into history. I need to go back to making more structured videos. I've been kind of all over the place right now. But I always saw history content and I wanted to contribute what I had to say to that.
That's awesome because usually I guess first, how long have you been teaching, if you don't mind me asking?
This is only my second year, so I'm relatively new.
You definitely seem like one of the younger teachers out there, so it definitely fits the brand because it's not like you're doing the dance or doing goofy stuff where if you see someone who is a teacher or a more educated person, you're like, why are they dancing? It's more fun to watch someone who's educated, knows what they're talking about, and actually teaching on TikTok. One of my favorite series of yours and kind of how I first discovered you is just when you talk about Halloween. And I think the coolest thing is you respond to people's comments a lot, right? Like you can do the comment response on TikTok. And I always thought it was really cool. Like you respond to people's comments about TikToks. You did one recently where it was a cool little mix because your recent videos have been talking about how like cultures, right? Like coffee in America, cultures. You then talked about how African culture affected zombies and how we know them today. And that was a fun history fact. Like I kind of already knew because I love horror, but the way you described it was just so fun, energetic, and really got my attention. And it showed me that you know a lot of history about Halloween, and you actually wrote your thesis about it, right?
Yeah. So when I was in college, if you're a history major, you have to write your big thesis paper. And I was in the class a semester early. Usually you take it your very last semester, but I decided to take it one semester early. And I kind of had no direction. I went to school in a really small area in Ventura at Channel Islands, and their history program was really small. I didn't really have a particular interest. I'm kind of a history generalist. I knew I wanted to be a teacher. And I ended up dropping out of the capstone class, but I was watching a Parks and Rec episode. And Yeah, and April Ludgate says, "Oh, I have a degree in history or Halloween studies." And I was like, "Wait a minute. I love Halloween. I should write my thesis on Halloween." So I did, and then gave my presentation in March about Halloween, but it was really cool to trace, how this became such an American holiday. And it's sort of a patchwork of a bunch of different ideas from all over the world, really.
Would you say, actually, real quick before I get into the more serious stuff, I get comments on TikTok all the time saying I look like Ben from Parks and Rec. Do you see that at all? Because I get that comment all the time, and I'm like, how? I don't think I look like him. I feel like I just vaguely look like him.
I think it's more of like it's how you hold yourself.
Yeah, I've seen a few. I watched it in high school, and so like I'll get their references, but I was like, I didn't really realize I look like so. The second you said Parks and Rec, I just had like the war flashbacks of all the comments. I was like, all the time people say that. Would you say one thing I've always been interested about, and now that since you're like a pro with Halloween, how much was Halloween affected by movies, right? Like one would be like, oh, Halloween movies came because of Halloween. Would you say even movies today are creating more Halloween traditions and like America Halloween is affected by movies in some way?
So I think like the core ideas of Halloween are really far removed from movies. They go back hundreds of years, really.
Yeah.
But definitely when it comes to aesthetics, when we think of what Halloween looks like and like the whole scary aspect of it is actually relatively new. I mean, it's always been dealing with death and dying and those who have passed. But we've sort of taken that horror aspect from movies and incorporated it into the holiday. So when it comes to costumes and everything, yeah, in the modern day, definitely movies have a huge impact. But I think all of the traditions are still uniquely reminiscent of olden times.
Yeah, and I guess talking about traditions, I mean, don't feel like you have to go on like a 30-minute rant, but if you make TikTok, so you're used to like only being able to talk in a minute, do you want to like describe the original Halloween tradition?
Sure. So, well, there's conflicting information out there about where Halloween starts, but where we know it starts for us, or at least our version of the holiday, comes from Samhain, which is a Celtic holiday that was celebrated in Scotland and Ireland. And the original idea, it's Celtic New Year. It's when the veil between the living and the dead is its thinnest. And there are a few different traditions associated with spirits, like lighting these huge bonfires to ward away evil spirits, carving turnips so they look evil, also to scare off spirits, and then placing soul cakes on the graves of dead ones so their spirits have something to eat. And that's since morphed a bunch. We could talk about that if you want.
Yeah, no, go into it. I guess literally the only thing I really knew about Halloween, again, it could be conflicting information, was like the reason we originally wore costumes and masks were to blend in with said spirits if they could cross over. We didn't want them to be like, "Oh, humans, I'm gonna mess you up." We were like, "Oh, hey, look, we're demons and monsters like you, bro."
Right. And I think the actual interpretation, like we put through our lens, it's demons and ghouls and ghosts, but
Yeah.
I think it's actually fae in the original. It's actually like more of a religious thing for Celtic people. But when the Catholic Church was Christianizing Europe, they basically said, oh, we have this day, All Saints Day or All Hallow Mass, where we venerate our past saints. And it looks like you guys are doing that too. So they changed the date from spring to November 1st.
Nice.
And,
Okay.
and basically, yeah, they said, hey, this is the same holiday. We just have the real version. And all of the Irish and Scottish Catholics went, okay, sounds good. So that was that aspect of it. And there's a lot of aspects of Halloween that we've lost today, although like bobbing for apples, which I've never actually seen anybody do. A lot of those like vegetable and fruit related activities are related to like finding love, like finding you used to blindfold yourself and walk through a cabbage patch, and whatever cabbage you tripped over, you pull up its roots, and the roots were supposed to look like your lover. So
Interesting. Okay. Cool.
yeah, the original Halloween was less about tricks and more about like finding love and venerating the dead.
I could just see like you're like, wow, You look just like the Roots predicted you'd look. I feel like that's like so weird. Like, that's interesting. All right, cool. I bet there's a lot more weirdness. Just keep rolling. This is hilarious.
So it gets pretty crazy when it gets to America, but obviously Irish and Scottish immigrants to America have been happening forever, but they sort of kept their traditions within their little enclaves. And it wasn't until the potato famine brought all of these, like literally millions of Irish people over. And that's when Halloween really started to become prevalent, because kids would go to college in the late 1800s, early 1900s, and they'd have this Irish friend who was like, hey, let's go do some pranks, like walking through a cabbage field and rooting up stuff, which all the other Americans are like, oh, this is just a prank. We're pulling pranks on people. And, so they started sharing these customs a little bit, but then average Americans sort of took things to a new extreme where the whole trick or treat idea was basically extortion. You would go say, hey, give us some candy or we're going to play a prank on you. And I believe it was from 1910. I read this newspaper article of a group of kids raided a cadaver facility at a college.
Okay.
And they took out the bodies, and whoever wouldn't give them treats, they would leave a corpse on their front door. And so the local governments, are like, okay, we need to do something about this. And eventually we got to modern trick-or-treating where you go door to door for candy, but that trick-or-treat used to be a threat.
So you're telling me it was like college students doing it, so when people try to age shame me being 22 and asking for candy, I should just tell them it's normal?
Yeah, although I gotta imagine alcohol was probably one of the treats that those college students actually wanted.
Well, that makes sense. That's fair. That's so cool. And I think that's one of my favorite things about history is it's such a, compared to other like things to be knowledgeable, right? History is one of those things where it can really just come up in conversation. It's almost like a party trick of some sort, right? Granted, I think I've only ever seen people bobbing for apples like one time, but if you ever did see it, you have a crazy story behind it. And like, that's not,
oh yeah,
I don't mean to bash on mathematics or science, but I'm just personally stupid when it comes to mathematics and science. So I think that's why
that's why I'm a history major.
yeah, that's why I love history. It's something that connects well with others. It's easy to explain because you're just explaining what happened. And I've always just gravitated towards it. So it's so great seeing other TikTokers that do history content. And there's a lot of people on TikTok who want to do it. What would your like suggestion to them be if someone's just starting out now wanting to make history themed TikToks?
Oh man, well, I mean, there's so many better historians than me. But I would say just stick to it and play into your strengths. Like, I'm kind of good at these really quick off the cuff, sort of fast paced TikToks, but some of them have actually kind of bit me in the ass because I'm dyslexic and I've like I mixed up a number in a video.
Yep.
I mixed up 800 with 18,000. Yeah, and it made me look dumb, but the video blew up, so I'm like, oh, I don't want to delete it.
I know exactly
so be careful.
What you mean.
Yeah. But the cool thing is, it's so easy to correct your mistakes on TikTok, and everybody's so. I mean, most people are accepting. You get hate comments no matter what, but it's all good.
Have you ever?
But yeah.
Go for it. Keep going. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Oh no, I'm done.
Okay, I was going to ask. I was just so excited about this question because I'm hoping your answer is no as well, so I don't feel left out. Do you ever get asked to be a part of the History Hype House?
I've never been. No.
Thank God. Okay. I guess. How long have you been on TikTok for?
I started about probably 9 months ago now, but I haven't been doing history content until pretty recently.
I feel I definitely didn't join TikTok because I started a year and 1 month ago because I started in September last year, late September. So I was just doing skits and then I fell into history and I was like, this is something the only thing I ever did good on my AP exams, the only class I was good at. I'll talk about it. But so you and I then joined kind of late to TikTok for sure. So that's what I tell myself when I'm like, oh, other history, because I'm not friends. Are you friends with any other history TikTokers?
I'm cool with some. In fact, I just had a live stream with a Native American historian. But as far as like mainstream history TikTok, no. I for some reason I got put in political TikTok, and you've probably noticed that I'll like pop up with little.
Your third party comments that we're getting. I totally saw what you meant. Like I knew what you meant. But everyone just dude, that through it's so hard because history and politics, that's a line that is always walking. But oh man, were you scared when that happened?
Well, I wasn't. I'm pretty good at sticking to my guns, but you know, like I realized that people were taking it a different way than what I meant, and so I deleted it. And context before that, I live streamed with a person who's researching at the collegiate level third parties and how it's really changing in America. So I'm like, you know what? People should vote how they feel, but this is kind of a spicy election to be talking about that kind of stuff.
Yep. No, I know exactly what you mean because it's one of those things where because I've been asked, they're like, has a third party ever won before? It's like, well, first of all, no. And the closest we've ever gotten was, I believe it was Theodore Roosevelt, but that was after he was already well established. And they're like, oh, he was a great president, maybe third term. And all he managed to do was just screw over the other person running who had similar ideologies as him. But he technically got second place, which is the closest a third party's ever gotten was second place.
I think he only got like 3 or 4 states though, if I'm not wrong.
True, but like compared to now, it's like Gary Johnson, that man's still running with a few million, but he's like never even pulled. But it's one of those things. I totally agree. It's like a third party could exist, but talking about it right now will definitely put you in political TikTok and definitely put a like big target on your back. So when you made that, I was like, totally see where he's coming from, but I'm interested to see where this goes. And then I followed your videos as you like talked about it and you said you're taking it down. And I was like, and I almost felt like I definitely was like, I understood why you're taking it down, but I was really hoping you weren't going to like be sad that you had to take it down. Like I was hoping like whenever I see a talented TikTok creator, because like you share so much awesome knowledge, I was so worried. I was like, hopefully he doesn't like see this as like, oh, TikTok's attacking me. Because I was so worried about that because it's so easy to have that feeling.
Yeah. And you know, like I try to come at everything through at least the historical perspective so it's relevant to my content. But I also teach like 16-year-old kids. Yeah. And I want them to vote. And you know, like I get that people have some real serious issues with the political elections, but my perspective has always been, you know, if I was that kid who felt on the outside and then all of these people are attacking me and telling me I'm wrong, is that going to change my opinion or is that going to radicalize me even further? Yeah. So a lot of the political stuff that I talk about, I'm trying to get people to communicate with each other. And I've had a little bit of success already on TikTok, although TikTok skews young and young skews radical. So
yes, yeah, very much so. I've been in my fair share of, because I try to come at it with a non-political bias if I ever mention something that's
for sure
recent history, and even then still like called out, which it's understandable. But speaking of TikTok and students, do your students know you have a TikTok?
Some do. Some former students, you know, there's like the students that think you're cool, and then there's the students who think, oh my God, he has 100,000 followers on TikTok, and then they go view you and they're like, oh, it's what we talk about in class. No.
yeah. I would. It was funny when you were saying that, like the more, because when it comes to history TikTokers, it's a pretty finite number of TikTokers that make history, and I would say you're definitely probably in the top like 10% of like big name TikTokers when it comes to history. Because I'd say the biggest ones, because it's very vague to say history TikTokers, because a lot of, I don't mean to come off as a purist here. It's gonna sound really weird, but I rarely find people who only talk about history. Like if you go through all of my stuff, it's like back to the early days it wasn't, but everything else is like 99% history. And you're someone who does 99% history as well. And like, do you know who Nosebleed is?
Yes,
so she doesn't talk, she dances with it, but it's always history. So I'm always like, she's a history TikToker. But there's others who will do like, she has like a podcast. Now, I can't even think of what her name is, but like she has millions of followers and she'll do history stuff, but it's like science and math as well. So I'm always like, well, technically, is she actually a history TikToker? So I definitely see you as like a purist That sounds so weird. I feel like I sound like a Mandalorian from Star Wars who's like, this is the way, nothing else. If you're not fully with me, you're against me. But I always like, I'm still looking at your content to this day because there's just a lot to kind of go through. But what from I've seen is you really do focus on history and you've been growing immensely. To anyone who's trying to grow quickly with history as well, would you have another suggestion to them at all?
It's so hard because so much stuff is chance, you know, like I had a video where I talked about Ohioan accents and that exploded, and I did not expect that at all. I thought it was going to be a throwaway video, but I think that, you know, controversy does sell. So if you have controversial historical opinions, I mean, be careful, but they can definitely work. Like going back to my Viking videos, when I talked about what the Vikings actually looked like, you know, it bucked the idea of what people thought Vikings looked like. And so people share that stuff and they comment. But
So,
I don't know. I'm still kind of amazed at how many people follow me.
yeah, no, it's so cool to see that growth. And honestly, first of all, you've heard it here first on the Jank podcast. Taylor supports John Wilkes Booth sympathizers. So if you think Lincoln deserved it, say Taylor sent you and start making those videos right now. It's going to blow up. It's going to be great. No, I definitely know what you mean because my most popular videos are talking about presidents, which is technically controversial. So
Oh yeah.
controversial in the sense of there's probably some things where it's like, if you have that belief, you're an awful person. And they're like, it's if like, I love Ulysses S. Grant and there's people who don't love him. That's fine. But if you're like, I think this, I can't even say because I'm worried YouTube will demonetize me for saying it. There's things where it's like, if YouTube will demonetize you for saying it, you probably shouldn't defend it, or TikTok will take it down. But
Yeah.
I definitely know what you mean. Like you said, your Vikings one, because honestly, if someone said Viking, I would think someone who looks like you, right? The long
Yeah.
hair, the beard, like big dude, like that's what I would think. So then just to be like, they're actually emo. That's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
genius thing to do. Have you ever thought of like making that into more of a series and like bringing it back or?
So I did like 3 or 4 Viking videos, but it was really the first one. And then I made one about the Picts, which was in a similar vein where I said they looked like Guy Fieri, and that one did really well as well. But I think, you know, if you do get a video that pops off and is going really well, like the quicker you can put out videos talking about that stuff. Like I had a video blow up about spices, so I followed up with like 5 different videos just responding to comments, and those all got like 20,000 views. So I think just like when you do spike, because your videos will spike at some point, regardless of what you put out there, follow up and respond to people. And I like responding to people. I don't know how you feel about it, but I like conversating with people, even if they hate me.
I love it. I'm doing right now historical tragedies I would survive because I'm built different. And I finally got people to start commenting comments. Obviously, there's some genuine tragedies I'll never actually talk about because there's just some that I'm like, avoid those. But it's fun getting like obscure ones. So I love responding to comments. I think that's good because responding to the comments is a great way to make a follow-up to the video without it seeming like you're trying to be like, look, I'll make another one. Just please watch it. It's a great way to you can add more to the video that did well. And it allows you to respond quickly. So I think another thing with along what you said is post it quick, do it quick. Don't wait for it. Don't be like, oh, I wanted to keep getting views, so I'm not going to post something again. The more you post, I think the more TikTok will validate you and continue to.
For sure.
How many videos would you say you post a day?
I don't know. It's been really wild. Before I started teaching this semester, I was trying to do like 1 solid video a day, and then if there was a good question, I'd respond to it. And that was a good formula. Like I'm really proud of those videos. Since I've been teaching, I'll literally like have a 10-minute break and then start a fight with somebody about coffee being from Ethiopia, not from South America.
But that's fun to watch. I was watching all over that, dude. I kept clicking the comments to go back to your other videos to see where it originated from. That was awesome. I know exactly what you're talking about. So I would say even the ones that you might not be the most proud of, people still get enjoyment of it. You're a very entertaining person, which is definitely good. Which then also leads into my final thing. You being an entertaining person, I'm interested in what your pick is. Who is your favorite historical figure?
It's such a hard question for me because I focus on cultural history, which isn't a lot of those big name people.
Yeah.
But there is a U.S. president, and I know you have some feelings about this, and I believe you actually picked this as one of your top 4 as well. But Teddy Roosevelt is the man.
Nice. Okay, I was I thought you were gonna say Thomas Jefferson, and I was like, I'm gonna end this goddamn podcast right now. This is my show, and you will not say that name on this podcast. Okay, no, that's great. Yes, Teddy Roosevelt.
I like Thomas Jefferson for his writing, but like as a person, it's like
A little hypocritical. He's an interesting guy. But so what kind of obviously Theodore Roosevelt is an icon to many. Was there something that stood out to you personally that made you connect with him?
Yes. So I've always really appreciated people that grab life by the balls. And I read a story about Teddy Roosevelt when he was a kid. Him and his family used to play a game where they would absurd thing, and that's the type of integrity and drive I want in a president.
I'm so sorry. For some reason, the audio cut out there. Literally, the second you started your awesome story, you went Teddy and his family, and then just dead silence. It's just beep.
Oh
no!
no!
Try to retell that real quick.
Yes, I think I can do it better. Okay. So
okay, good.
So Teddy Roosevelt, I mean, he's all over the place politically. You know, he's kind of a political wild card. But it's actually his family had this game that I think is incredible, where they would pick something in the distance, whatever, a barn. We're gonna all run to that barn or whatever, this big tree, whatever it is, and then they'd run in a perfectly straight line. So if there was a lake in the way or a barn that they might have to climb over, whatever it was, the only rules were straight line. It didn't matter how you got there. And so they would swim through a lake, climb over this barn, climb a tree to go in a straight line. And I just thought that was like, it's so absurd, but it's so like, he has the drive and the power. And I just love that.
It really is like almost metaphorical for him. It didn't matter what he had to go through. Once he had something in his sights, he was going to do it. And you saw that during times of war, during his presidency. So yeah, honestly, I didn't even know that story. That's so cool. That is very metaphorical for Theodore Roosevelt. That's awesome.
It's very
that's so cool. All right, I guess do you have anything you want to plug?
I guess my channel on TikTok, Tnoobz. Follow me there. I'm starting to stream on Twitch. I've done 3 interviews so far, and they've been great. Maybe we'll have you on to have a more of a long form discussion there about something.
Yeah, for sure. That'd definitely be fun.
Yes, that's TX on Twitch. I'm trying to stream every Friday-ish. And yeah, thanks for having me on. I love your content, and this has been fun.
Dude, thank you so much. And just for anyone who's wondering, it's Tnoobz with a Z, right?
Yeah, it's my last name, but it's noobified because I grew up in the 2000s.
That's perfect. Okay, just want to make sure we get that. Yeah, dude, thank you again so much for taking the time to come on the podcast and educate us about Halloween and the amazing Theodore Roosevelt. Again, if you want to see our beef on TikTok, it's basically just over Thomas Jefferson. But I had a lot of fun doing that because you were your video was just so goddamn funny because it was obvious you weren't taking it serious. I could see someone watching that and being like, oh, these guys are going to fight, but we took it so unseriously. You were like, here's why he's good, but also like, he's awful. And I was like, yes, I agree. He sucks. And then that was just so funny. So yes, I'm really glad we got to meet. And again, thanks for coming on, man. Now during this, this is always the most awkward part is doing the ending for the podcast, but being like, don't hang up quite yet. I just need to get some more information. So I guess I'm just going to end it like that. Just even with that awkward talking part. And we ended it. 1 sec here. Let me just not press the wrong button. Cool. Let me stop recording on your end. Awesome, man. Hey there, guys. Sorry I couldn't make a better ending with better audio either. It has been an incredibly busy month, but here's hoping next time. Actually, just a promise. Next time the ending will not sound like trash. Thanks for watching.